everyone. We're trying out a new type of video today. We're doing some Am I the Asshole content only because Fat Logic, Fat Liberation stuff is kind of drying up. There is a video that I want to react to, but I kind of want to save that for when we go back down to 2 videos a week during voting for the Hayes Reading Group stuff. So we'll do some of that next week. But today, we're just going to test out some Am I the Asshole content. If you guys don't like it, that's fine. Let me know. I just kind of want to test out some new content for this channel. But before I do that, I have a story time for you all from my week this week. It wasn't anything that I had trouble with. So, I had kind of a bad week, but it wasn't like bad weeks that I've had before. It wasn't a bad time with a particular student. It's that all of the kids in nearly every class were at each other's throats this week, just arguing and fighting, and I had no idea how to control or rectify any of it. I had to call on both my mentor teachers to figure out how do I handle this sort of thing. But the story time I have for you all is from something that happened this week involving the kids at each other's throats. I had rearranged some seating for one day for a specific reason in regards to what I needed to do for my teaching program. And there were 4 kids at a table, and 2 of the kids I had never paired together before. Thought it would be good, that would be okay. Was not at all. They were getting into major arguments and starting to swear at each other, so I took them out into the hall to try to get an idea of what was going on, and we're going to call them Kid A, Kid B, and then there's also a Kid C that is, one of my bigger troublemakers in the class. He has softened some, but he can still be kind of disrespectful, and he can be a bit of a bully with the others. He's gotten better, especially since I've learned how to seat him with kids that are more, not similar to him, but he seems to be okay with. And so he's been less disruptive, and he seems to be caring more about his grades, so Kid C's doing better. But Kid A and Kid B were arguing. I took them out into the hall to try to get some idea. Kid B, and neither Kid A nor Kid B speak the same language. This is with some English as second language students, and that's kind of where the crux of the humor of the story comes in. So Kid A and Kid B are arguing. I take them out into the hall. Kid B saying that Kid A told her to shut the fuck up. Kid A saying, well, she was being really rude. The kids say that they're being rude, but then I don't, being rude could be something like punching them in the shoulder or just asking them to please be quiet. So when kids say they were being rude, it can be such a wide range of things. I have to try to get something more specific. And I'm like, how was she being rude? And I think there was some issues with his ability to communicate, because I wasn't getting something super clear from him. He's saying she's just being rude. She's doing this rude thing at me. I'm like, well, what is it? And so I'm trying to talk to her to see, Kid B, what did you do? She's, of course, playing innocent, which I've worked with Kid B for a little while now, and Kid A tends to be a pretty chill kid. He doesn't typically, blow up for no reason. Kid B can be a bit of an instigator, especially if she's in a bad mood, and I knew she was in a bad mood that day. So I'm like, something's not adding up. Well, Kid C's coming back from the bathroom, and that's when Kid A finally says, she fucked me. And he says it so angrily. I'm like, what? And of course Kid C bursts into laughing, because Kid C, his formal English isn't very good, but he understands a lot of colloquialisms. And so he understood, and he's laughing. I'm trying to, keep my composure and failing fucking miserably at it. And then I'm like, Kid A keeps saying, she fucked me. And I'm like, Okay, and Kid C is losing his shit and refusing to go into the classroom, and his laughing is making me laugh, while Kid A keeps saying she fucked me. Uh, and then other teachers, like, I see kids peeking around corners, and I'm like, I am losing control of the situation. So I open the classroom door and tell Kid C, you need to go inside, because I'm losing. I'm not keeping control of my own laughter at this point. I'm laughing. And finally I see Kid A say she fucked me, and he holds up his middle finger. I'm like, she flipped you off. He goes, yeah, she fucked me. And I'm like, no, that's not like, I can't. How do you explain in an age-appropriate context that she flipped you off is not the same thing as she fucked you? And so I'm trying to, like, just trying to get, and Kid B, I don't think, realizes the colloquialism of that statement. She seems a little surprised, but she doesn't start laughing the way Kid C does. I don't think she fully registered that, what that means. And so I'm like, okay, no more swearing. And I'm saying this while I'm laughing, so I'm losing, like, all points of credibility. A teacher's opening the door at this point, talking about how loud it is in the hall. And I'm just like, oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. I don't, like, say any of this out loud. I'm like, oh my fucking god, I am failing here. Everyone needs to just shut up. Just shut up for a moment. I don't say any of that. But I'm a little panicked, and I'm trying so hard to keep my own laughter in, because it's just, the whole situation is just fucking funny at this point. And so I'm like, let's not swear. And Kid A is like, well, that's how, she doesn't understand if you use any other language. And like, no swearing, because I don't know, how do you explain in a school appropriate context what she fucked me means? Like, how do I do that? How do I fucking do that? So I basically just make a rule of no swearing. I say we're not going to do, rude hand gestures. We're not going to flip people off. We're not going to hold up our middle finger. And I managed to, like, get them to agree to more or less ignore each other and just be polite to each other. But by the time I get back into the class, other fights have erupted. And while I'm trying to handle that, Kid C comes up to me a couple of times and goes, hey teacher, she fucked me. And I, of course, the situation is still fresh. I'm laughing and telling him no, which he's not taking seriously because I'm fucking barely holding on. And so I just lost all control of the classroom that day, and I had to, like, sit down and talk with my mentor teacher about it, and, like, how do I handle this situation next time, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So, that is my story time of the week. And if anyone can think of a school-appropriate way to explain the difference between she flipped you off and she fucked you, that would be great. Because God, that was so... I failed miserably at keeping my laugh. I didn't laugh out loud, but I was giggling. Like, I was giggling. I couldn't keep my own laughter in. I'm like, okay. I eventually just had to say no swearing because that seemed to stop it. And I could, there were other students passing in the hall, and Kid A saying she fucked him, and it's just, I lost so much control of that situation. I still think it's funny even now. You've heard me laughing a couple of times through this, and it was just a circus. So, any teachers out there on how maybe to handle that situation better next time, I'd appreciate it. But, we're like 10 minutes into the video already, haven't even started the Am I the Asshole content, but I hope you enjoyed my story time, and let's jump into it now. Am I the asshole for asking my sister-in-law not to talk too much about her job in front of my daughter? Throwaway, as I don't want this to be connected to my main. My husband's sister, Melissa, is a social media influencer. She is quite famous and has a large following, and at times gets commissions from popular makeup brands. She recently shifted to our city. She's really sweet, and my 13-year-old daughter, Anna, adores her. For some background, Melissa has gotten lots of grief from my in-laws in the beginning for her job choice. She's a high school dropout and didn't have any job for a long time, while my husband was really successful at school and then at his job. Melissa is really good at her work to the point that she earns at par with her brother, and now her family has finally accepted her choice of work. Anna is really into makeup, and Melissa often gives her tips and tricks, but recently, Melissa has started telling Anna about how she became successful after dropping out of school, and you only need confidence to succeed, not a degree. And that what you study at school doesn't really have much value in real life. While I agree that education is not everything, Anna is very easily influenced and takes things at face value. 2 days ago at dinner, she spoke about how she hates school and wants to leave as soon as she can. I don't have anything against Melissa or her job, but I don't want Anna to resent school and undermine the importance of education because dropping out of school doesn't work for everyone. Yesterday, I called Melissa and told her that maybe it would be better if she didn't talk too much about how studies aren't that important in her job, as Anna is at a really impressionable age. Melissa got offended and said that no one respects her job and I am insulting her intelligence. I thought that Melissa was taking things to a stretch, as I hadn't even mentioned her job. She cut the phone and isn't answering anymore. Am I the asshole here? No. As someone who works with a lot of middle schoolers who are right around Anna's age, the kids fully believe that you can drop out of school for anyone. Anyone can drop out of school and live off YouTube, make money from TikTok, make money from social media, be an influencer, that sort of thing. They don't have any concept of how lucky a lot of people get from algorithms and how not everyone you can invest all your time into your channel and your content and not pick up any steam at all. There's a great deal of luck that becomes from being an influencer. And the kids don't understand that yet. They're too young to understand. So I agree. I think Melissa needs to be careful about what she says around a 13-year-old. Because 13-year-olds often think that everything follows a linear progression. One choice they make leads to an exact outcome, and it doesn't. So, in order to keep your kid on a good path, I understand asking Melissa to not talk so much about how school isn't important. It sends a bad message, and if nothing else, let's say Anna wants to try to be an influencer as she gets older. That's fine, but she needs to have her education as a backup. Let's see what the comments say. Not the asshole, and Melissa is lucky. She found a niche for now. Being an influencer is not a life career. It's a flash in the pan. What is Melissa going to do when the influencer craze is over? Or when younger influencers come along and clothing and makeup brands switch to them? She'll have no education or skills to fall back on. You are right telling her to back off with Anna. I agree with this. Being an influencer that's a good point. It is not stable the way other careers are stable. I agree with the verdict, but disagree a little on your outlook on influencers. And this is from someone who doesn't like the concept. New influencers will come, but if Melissa plays her cards right, what she can offer brands in her brand, credibility. Fans who supported her for years will continue to trust her, and she'll be a guru, so to speak. You can see older influencers like Simply Nailogical are still very popular despite her being in her 30s. She has a brand now and an image that her audience trusts. So Melissa might not be screwed if she's smart. But that's it. But, I mean, even in your answer, you're kind of hitting on something. Simply Nailogical is considered an older influencer, and she's only in her 30s. Careers, like retirement, isn't until age 65. That's not to say that Melissa is doomed come when she hits like age 40 or something. I'm not saying that. But it requires a lot of smart choices at a lot of right times and with a continued luck to kind of help you along, I think. But that's me. Oh yeah, older influencers in their 30s. Yep. Yes, because most influencers are in their late teens, early 30s. Believe me, as someone turning 30 next year, I do not feel old. But that's exactly the point, and she's missing the point that they're making. I don't want to follow this thread forever. Let's take a look at it and see what someone else Not the asshole. There's a difference between talking about being a successful social influencer and telling a teenager about how school is not important. I agree with this. For most jobs, a degree gets you considered for the job, and confidence to succeed along with hard work allows you to be successful. Agreed. OP and or Melissa should let her know that there are other options and it's hard to become an influencer. Yes. So I think the general gist here seems to be not the asshole. I agree, not the asshole. I've worked with plenty of kids on this. They're very impressionable, and they think every 13-year-old thinks that they can be the next Bella Poarch or Charlie D'Amelio, and they don't understand the amount of luck that goes into that. So, not the asshole. Next story. Am I the asshole for letting my daughter cry for 15 minutes instead of fetching her tablet? Context. 6 years ago, my wife was laid off. She struggled to find a job in the following months, and we couldn't afford raising the kids, 2 boys and 1 girl, with my salary. An old client offered me a well-paying job overseas, so I took it. Last month, I came back after I agreed with the company to work from home, and they made the legal arrangements for it. When I was overseas, I'd talk to them every day and visit once a year. Whenever I was with them, I could notice that my wife was spoiling our daughter. I talked to her about it, but she tell me that she knows what she is doing and she is the one raising her every day, and there's no harm treating our little girl like a princess. Our daughter is now 9, and while she is still our little girl and will always be till the day we die, she is not exclusively that and will need to start relying on herself more. When I came back, I found out that my wife had been doing her homework. My teenage boys told me that Mom bought their sister 3 iPads that she smashed when having tantrums in the last year and bought her a new one 2 months ago. If our daughter asks for something, she will not stop crying until we get it for her. She'd literally be sitting on the couch and screaming water until someone brings it to her. If she forgets her tablet upstairs, she'll order her brothers to get it for her, and if they refuse, she'll start crying. Yesterday, she tried doing the same. I ordered my boys to stay still and told her to go fetch it herself. She kept crying for 15 minutes. I was hugging her all the time and comforting her. When she stopped, I told her that she still has to get it by herself, but I will follow her if she wants. She was still annoyed, but replied saying that she's a big girl and can fetch it herself. When my wife came back from an errand, I told her what happened. Instead of supporting me, she was angry at me for letting her cry and told me that I was an asshole who preferred to let his girl cry for 15 minutes instead of taking 30 seconds to help her. I didn't expect that reaction from her. I told her that she's ruining our daughter, and if we keep treating her like that, we will raise a pathetic person who can't rely on themselves for the simplest thing. I told her that she needs to stop doing her homework, and instead we should guide her to figure out the answers by herself. And we should also make her do the chores her brothers did when they were her age. She replied that I was welcome to keep being an asshole to our daughter, but she'll keep treating her nicely. She warned me not cry or feel guilty when my daughter grows up and wants nothing to do with me. The last thing I want is for my daughter to despise me, but at the same time I want her to grow up to be a strong, independent woman. We aren't going to be with her for the rest of her life, and even if we were, it's important for every adult to be able to fend for themselves. Not the asshole, in my perspective. Your wife is 100% handicapping your daughter, and this is going to make upper levels of school much harder for her. She's only 9. You can kind of correct this pretty quickly, and I think you handled it well. I think your daughter would be more likely to come up with the dichotomy of, daddy bad, mommy good, if you had been harsher. But the fact that you stayed and comforted her while she cried, but still held firm with the expectation that she go get it herself, that it was a very healthy boundary, and I think a pretty healthy way of handling your daughter's immaturity. And these are skills that most 6-year-olds have. So the fact that she's 9 and absolutely refuses to just go get her tablet herself shows that it's already handicapping her. Let's take a look at some comments. Not the asshole, but there needs to be some serious intervention here. You had to hold and comfort her while she cried. I can bet you she doesn't do this nonsense at school. You and your wife need to stop this immediately. She probably actually does do this at school. We have plenty of spoiled students that we have to, for lack of a better term, parent. because they're used to getting everything at home and they don't understand why not everyone in the school prioritizes them. I guarantee that she does this at school. She probably has a hard time at school. She's probably fairly entitled at school. And she's probably going to grow to hate school more than some of her peers because school has firm boundaries that while it's fair, she doesn't view it as fair because to her, fair is everyone catering to her whim. I don't think it's wrong that he held and comforted her while she cried. She's never been challenged or forced to do anything for herself, so it's scary and she's not used to not getting what she wants at home. That's very jarring for a kid at this age where all of a sudden dynamics are changing and they don't know how to handle it and they don't know how to do anything for themselves because they have been stunted and kept in a very small child position and they're older kids now. So I don't think it's wrong that he comforted her. I actually think that was a pretty appropriate way to handle the situation. Hold her and comfort her while she cried because she couldn't be arsed going upstairs to retrieve her iPad at 9 years old. Are you serious? Haha, girl needs a real shift in reality. OP needs to stop with that immediately, although he is not the asshole as he understands just how bad it is and has the right idea. I disagree. I think if you go, especially with mom not on board, a gentler touch in guiding her is going to be better than being a hard ass. Because she's going to cling to mom more. She's going to bring mom saying, daddy's being mean, daddy's, and that's going to create more interpersonal conflict. It could still happen with him comforting her, but there's just less stark difference between the two parenting styles, and it's going to confuse her a little less. It needs to be handled, but if both parents aren't on board, I think there needs to be a more nuanced approach from dad to correct this behavior. OP's wife is an asshole, though. I agree with that. She needs a right shake. She doesn't mind treating her girl better than the boys, as if that's not going to push them away, like she called out OP on the way he wants to treat his daughter. If you can, OP, please intervene, get help, something. I honestly don't have any advice on what to do here other than encourage your daughter to do things for herself and not replace things once they're broken and teach her about actual real life. I agree with that. If she breaks another iPad, this is called natural consequences. She can either do more chores to try to earn it back. I think that there is a lot of validity in, for lack of a better term, bribing kids. Kids don't have a whole lot of internal motivation yet, especially at 9, and so having this thing where it's like, no, you need to earn it, is a good lesson for her, especially since she's clearly not learned that yet. But that girl is going to struggle in adulthood and future relationships if it continues. Okay, good. I'm glad someone says defended him on the comforting her. Look, it sounds stupid, but this is actually good parenting. Kids have tantrums and should learn to self-soothe. Usually, if a parent is teaching them how, tantrums will stop by age 4. This girl never had that, so he needs to teach her how to self-soothe while not giving in. Thank you. Yes, I agree. See, speaking as someone who has been a teacher for 9-year-olds, there's a chance she's a nightmare at school as well. Yes, 100%. She's probably someone that is in, so I can't speak for everywhere, but in elementary schools where I am, there is an emotional support teacher in the school that will gather kids that have poor emotional regulation skills, like it sounds like this girl has, and put them in groups with other kids that have poor emotional regulation and teaches them how to deal with their feelings. Unfortunately, most of this is undone if it's not facilitated at home as well. Alright, last one. Not the asshole, you're absolutely right. Your wife is doing more harm than good. Your daughter will grow up and not be able to handle anything. Your sons must feel so unloved by their mother. I think you should suggest some counseling for your wife. It seems there might be something deeper going on there. Good luck. That's actually a pretty good point. I do feel sorry for the sons in this situation. Making them essentially caretakers for their younger daughter is not okay, and it's only going to breed resentment of them toward her as well as towards the mother. I think counseling would be a good idea, although given the wife's absolute refusal to even meet her husband halfway when it comes to disciplining their daughter, I don't know if she's going to be a willing participant in that. But with that, we're going to leave it here today. What do you think of this content? I know there's a lot of Am I the Asshole channels. I don't know if this will become a regular thing, but I thought maybe occasionally it might be fun. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.